This is me, roughly 19 years old, with hammer pants and okay, not running Windows ME on a little Spark IPC server that I bought off eBay for a ridiculous amount of money, $5. Shipping was like 1,000 rand to get it here because it's so damn heavy, right? So I've been playing with computers for a long time, or at least my parents permit me. So my kids call me KMF as well. We're one of those families, integrated. I call my kids on their GitHub handles, because when you do git blames in the house, it works better. Yeah, you didn't clean your room. I'll open a Jira ticket for that, right? Cool. So today we're going to learn a few things, right? This is Scott Hanselman saying like knowing that a tech thing exists and might be useful is more important than knowing the syntax of the tech thing. Do we all agree on something like that, right? It's like you're not going to walk into a place being an expert in that technology, but if you know something can do something like that, it's great. Example, Windows Word 97 shipped that little paperclip, right? You knew that paperclip can help you, and you did ask, maybe some of you weren't even born then, but knowing that that tech thing exists made you interact with that thing, right? Never helped. Okay, so a quick thank you for my team that's here, and a quick thank you for you risking to be here. So that's it. So I work for Obsidian Systems. We're the oldest open source company in the country. We've been in business for 24 years this year. So yeah, we know stuff about Linux and open source stuff. So over years, obviously this has changed because we're now an open solutions provider as opposed to just focusing on one operating system because, NT4. So yeah, so let's talk about test-driven infrastructure. This could be considered a strange thing, right? A strange thing. I don't know if this pop culture reference makes any sense to you, but it does to me, and it looks so cool, right? Today's goal is to walk away with more knowledge than what you walked in with. By no means am I an expert. We're all the experts. The collective minds in one room collectively are there to solve problems. So like this, right? So I use a lot of memes in my talks. I hope it doesn't offend you. It will. Honestly, I don't care. So there is a complaints line. I don't think I will overstep the code of conduct. So if I do, then you know where to report me. Cool, nice. So this happens, right? Business comes to you with some requirement, something that, yeah, I'm late for business, right? That's a manager on inline skates coming in late for a meeting, and they start pitching you this idea, right? What if you could have both speed and safety? You're like very nervous about that. You're like, what, right? Say like this whole DevOps thing is going to change everything, right? Very nice SpongeBob picture there, right? In your heart, you go, yes, this is DevOps. It's going to be amazing, right? And then somebody in marketing is like, oh my gosh, DevOps is coming, right? And business says, yeah, I sold the dream. It's going to work, right? Now you have to start like making sure that your team is assembled because we're going to go to production and things are going to be great, right? And then your infrastructure guy says, okay, we're doing DevOps the right way, so you're getting a VM, you're getting a VM, you're getting a VM, everybody's getting VMs, right? Your devs are thinking, well, you know what, I can make my own vSphere with HTML5 and DevOps, right? We don't need this is how DevOps works, right? And then some marketing brochure lands on your desk. It's like, wow, in the future, everything's going to be Dockerized. So you go into the Udemy, you do the Docker Compose up, and yeah, I'm such a hacker. It's so cool. You go like, your KPIs, you're like, yeah, I know Docker, it's so amazing. And then, yeah, all of a sudden, containers everywhere. Until, right, there's too much, one more time. And then you hear about Kubernetes, because it's so hot right now. And then, yeah, I just had to put that in. Yeah. So people think yeah, so you want to start testing in production. Tell me more how we're going to do this, right? Because people are like, yeah, containers is going to give us this ability to like just roll out everything. It's just going to be fine. We don't need availability zones and things like that. You say that you just simply don't test in production because that's wrong, right? And then, yeah, you're thinking, am I the only one who doesn't think that we should test in production? And then you get that WhatsApp. Oh my goodness, tonight we test in prod, right? Then you have a thought, right? So I was like, yeah, you can never ship if you ever ship anything, right? And then you get this, because I always have to put this slide in, right? Oh, good fun and then, never, nobody in deployment has ever had that issue. Right, and then, do this, right? Yeah, that's the best. Sweet. And you end up with a situation like this, almost like always that problem. Okay, this one's that one that I warned you about, okay, anyway, cool. So, marketing works usually with things like this. Like a DevOps engineer walks into a bar, puts the bartender in a Docker container, put Kubernetes behind the bar, deploy the bartender container, and then spins it up. 1,000 bartenders, orders 1 beer. Right? Yeah, that's it. Do we really need Kubernetes? That's a talk for another day. But yeah. But ultimately, everything comes down not necessarily on technologies, but on the teams that need to ship that stuff. And you get different kinds of teams, right? You might have seen these guys. You might know these guys. These guys, the A team. Each organization has this team. I want to be B.A. Baracus. I just want to rub his chest. Anyway, yeah. Ultimate favorite, Magnum PI. Love that mustache. Love Tom Selleck. And then you get highly specialized technical teams built with multicultures, multiracials in space. Right? So yeah, you have a HR person there, you have a bald-headed guy from business, and a clean-on. Anyway, so yeah. So then you get not so mature teams. They are not that good at doing things or achieving anything with real purpose. You get nice, highly funded teams with a single benefactor that gives you lots of money and operates multiple companies, and a nice nipple suit. And then you get this high team of superheroes that each one's their own little superstar. Hulk in the back there is obviously the QA tester. And yeah, it's like, yeah, thanks for nothing. And then obviously Tony Stark, Captain America, yeah, and that magical things. But the thing is that ultimately everybody has an idea. And we need to get that idea from one place to another place. And I think most teams have that goal in mind, right? So yeah. But this is how we do things in the DevOps dimension, right? This is it, right? So at Obsidian, we had similar challenges with getting stuff like that, because we're I said in the beginning, we're 24 years old, but our customers kind of demand new features getting shipped out to their infrastructure the whole time. And for us, it needs to be like, we need to ship those features because we need to be popular, right? They need to stay with us and not go away, replace us with like AWS or something. So the thing is that slide's old, so we manage customers' infrastructure for them on their Linux services side. So we needed to get that, right? So obviously you think, that's a nice ringtone. I'm on fire. But you probably have to evacuate the building if that fire alarm goes off. I told you that Windows ME joke's going to haunt me forever, right? So yeah, so we have legacy. You think you have legacy applications within your stuff, right? When we started our journey, we really had to like evaluate everything, make sure that we have all our ducks in a row, right? So the current Linux distributions that we support are these ones. From CentOS 5, that's Ubuntu 10.04 down there, right? This is the stuff that we work with on a daily basis. We're infrastructure guys. We need to support that. We need to ship stuff to that. So obviously you quickly counted because your genius is here. So that's 24 different Linux distributions. Yeah, that's it. Some of those distros in between there is emulating to be Debian distributions, but they're not. They're these fake appliances stuff. That's rubbish, right? That's 3 architectures we need to support, excluding ARM. So that's 32-bit, 64-bit, and things like that. And then I don't know if you've heard of a thing called systemd. Yeah. Anyway, so that startup engines also, I don't know, we can have a long talk about that. I love systemd. We can do that, right? And that's only about 50% of the machines that we manage with our automation, right? Those are the things that we know about. So there's a few unknowns, everything. So we use a thing called SSH to manage servers. It's a great protocol. I don't think you've ever heard of it. So our current SSH configuration is 2,400 lines, right? And that was done Monday. Just a quick cat. That thing's big, right? So this is what we manage with SSH. So we don't have a development pipeline. We have this kind of pipeline, which basically comes down to saying we test everything, right? Because building our apps or making sure that our things work on multiple platforms, we must spin up lots of different virtual machines and Docker containers and stuff to get stuff done. So I don't know, any of you guys have ever heard of a tool called Kitchen? Anybody heard Kitchen? So raise your hand. Kitchen's an amazing tool. I don't know if you've ever used it before, but this is basically a basic configuration file using Kitchen. Has some of you guys ever used a tool called Vagrant before? Vagrant? Most people have used Vagrant. So the cool thing about Kitchen is Kitchen has multiple virtualization drivers. So it gives you the ability to write infrastructure code tests, right, using Chef or Ansible or Salt or even Puppet for that reason. And then you can spin it up in multiple environments like Vagrant using Docker containers or Hyper-V. Nobody uses that. AWS, DigitalOcean, you name it, that's that. And then obviously the next layer, the provisioner layer, is obviously the automation tool that you're going to use, something like a Chef, Puppet, and Salt Stack. Also, yeah, and Ansible. Anyway, no comment. Anyway, so no Judgy, right? So, and then obviously the platforms that you need to test on, this could be Windows, any other operating system, real operating system. And then your test suites here at the bottom, stuff like Inspec. We're going to focus on a thing called Inspec today for writing these, like this test-driven, because obviously you came here for a reason, right? So not just out of the sun to escape the sun, but to learn something. So this is our code that we've written for our test infrastructure. So these are some of the main Linux distributions we test. We have a compliance thing here that basically says run these recipes, do these package installations, and then test these stuff that we've just run with these stuff, right? That specific automation, inspec test. So it's a very straightforward type of layout. Unfortunately, it's YAML, and you can ask me lots of questions about that afterwards. I can't talk about that legally in here. I can't talk about YAML. So, no, really. really. So here's an example of Ansible using Kitchen. So you just have a provisioner. You say you use a specific Ansible playbook. Obviously, you need to be root. Use inspec as the verifier, and then obviously do some magic here specifically to do some port forwards to do some tests. Very straightforward. Very, very nice. This is our new Docker configuration, because I don't know if you've heard of containers. We kind of love containers, more specifically Docker. We like using Docker. So here I'm using Docker to test test our code as well. Here's our run list here at the bottom with our verification stuff. We're testing on 7 different OSs on this specific thing using containers. I will quickly show you a code example. Now I'm switching gears. That's ridiculous because this is not supposed to be. I don't know how much time we're going to have for real cool stuff, but hopefully we can show a few things. Yeah, Docken, very important D in Docken. So yeah. Okay, don't copy that URL. That's a production URL, but we're going to do some tests now. So just want to make sure if the Docker is running. So that's cool. That whale is having a whale of a time. And while that thing is quickly firing up, I can probably quickly just continue with that. So now, obviously, this is 2019 since I last checked, and people use this thing called the cloud, you know? I don't know if you've used the cloud, I've heard of it. Obviously, it's a place where cool stuff happens. Pictures of beautiful things online, music streaming services and things like that, but more importantly, infrastructure services like AWS. Nobody's heard of that. That's like, there's a bookshop online that sells compute resources. They do that one. And there's an ad company that also makes one, a Google, with 2 E's and a G. They also have a cloud. And then there's this other one that makes Word. They also have a cloud, right? So InSpec gives us the ability to write quick test languages in a nice describe type fashion. Describe, like in this case, AWS security group, to say like, listen, the group name is Linux. I don't know if you can read. It's a skill that you should have probably, when you signed up for a ticket, had to use today. But yeah, and then we check quickly here, is port 22 open? And you should obviously not allow port 22 on anything else except that specific range. So if you've got, I can't say that, but if you have a brain, you can understand that, right? So back to terminal time. So exit. Okay, so hopefully the Docker is fired up. So yeah, firing up the test is as simple as running a kitchen test. And then what that does is it basically starts provisioning the resources for us using containers and then bootstrapping everything. Now, our tests, obviously running in this type of sandbox environments on my machine, not on anybody else's machine, well, it should be replicated, runs about between 2.5 to 3.5 minutes for 7 different OSs, doing our tests and verifications on there. So what you can see is here at the top is obviously I'm quickly just adding a user with some SSH keys here in the green, if you might have noticed that. So I'm changing some ownership stuff. And then here at the bottom, I'm doing compliance tests on that platform to see if what I did on that platform is actually signing off. Now, obviously, you kind of know what you want to do when you're an adult. You want to write your tests before you want to write your code. So we are quickly going to try, and we're testing the demo guard seriously because we've already had a fire alarm go off. So yeah, you want to see my calendar. That's a great thing. Okay, so let's just quickly write some tests using InSpec. This one's already in there, but that's lame. We don't want to necessarily do that. And then just save here. Ooh, that's not the right thing you want to see. I use a beautiful thing called VS Code. I am really impressed. Thank you for the guys at Microsoft. You know, I would have never thought today that you would thank them for open source. Think of that, right? 5 years ago, really? Like MS SQL and a Docker container on Linux? Ridiculous, right? So yeah, so we're very thankful for them. So I'm just quickly going to change the syntax here to InSpec, and we're just quickly going to write a few tests, right? So obviously, quickly give me a name of something if you want. Davi, what? Anybody? We're quickly going to DigitalOcean, another cloud provider. Hopefully I'm not going to type in any passwords that you're going to see. Glad you didn't see my Google identities, guys. I have a stripper name, I'm not telling you. Very nice stripper name. I'm choosing the cheapest one because my boss is here. So, okay. We'll find out if I have a job afterwards. Right, so cool. So we're quickly going to create this machine called Ubuntu. Don't know if you've heard of it. It's like a distribution, not a tribe of Western Africa. So we're quickly provisioning a machine in Amsterdam because, you know, I feel confident and very high today. So yeah, I'm on a high. There's already been a fire. So let's just quickly get the IP address for that. So back there, I'm like kneeling in front of my computer. This is what my wife tells me. You worship that thing. And she's right. She's right. This thing's got an 8-hour battery. You know how cool that is? Multi-touch trackpad. Anyway, let's go. So yeah. So first, you're going to quickly provision a user. We're going to add a user called Bob. I just feel so attracted to that name. And then, yeah, that user should exist. What other user are we gonna do? Quickly. What? Excuse me? I need to be Steve. Make it Steve. Thanks for that. The cheap seats here in the front, you know. It's like an Ed Sheeran concert. But I think if you take off my shirt, I'll be the ginger you'll be able to love. So. Yeah, so much pain, huh? Yeah, that's why I don't speak in public a lot. So okay, so we're saving a few things. Let's just add a package in here because you guys are so innovative. We'll just install something like Apache 2 because obviously that's how our machine should look. So we're just writing tests now, and you can see I want to check for a port as well. The port number is obviously port 80 because if you don't want to offend anybody doing that. So obviously, so let's just quickly add. I don't know if anybody ever written some chef code before. So let's add a user called Bob. We add a user called, and obviously you can use the official code line completion stuff, but for brevity, we're just going to use this stuff, right? So we're going to quickly add some Steve magic here, and we're going to add some. Let's see, who else? What did we want to do? We wanted to install a package called HTTP. Oh no, because this is not RHEL, so I can't say RHEL, Red Hat, following standards. No animosity. Okay, and then obviously we're going to say service. We need to start the service, and the service name is Apache 2, and that needs to start. So that's our little cookbook. So we've written our tests. We've written our recipe. Our test is done. Look at that, 3 minutes, 33 seconds in our Docker containers. Obviously, that's great because I'm a genius. And then let's just quickly go to our DevConf folder. Okay, so there's our recipes there. I've just edited them. Look at the timestamps. We probably have 13 minutes left, so I'm going to boost here quickly. I just quickly want to get that IP address. Copy. Hooray for simple and elegant UIs, guys. Hashtag not AWS. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. They make such a lot of money. I would have thought that they could spend more time to polish that thing, but you know what they say. Okay, so that's what they call Ubuntu. We check the uptime. It's up for 2 minutes, and we're quickly just going to run some tests here. So for time's sake, let's just go there. Is everybody still with me? Does anybody have a question or so far? You want to share your opinion with us? Anything? Quickly. Okay, so that's our tests. We're going to quickly connect to that machine using root. Okay, so we're running remotely. Now, the cool thing about Inspec is Inspec works on Linux and Mac and on Windows, but we've already determined that nobody actually uses Windows. So you don't need any agent installed on the machine to run the specific tests. So what Inspec now is doing, it's comparing the tests, and it's taking a bit of time because I don't know if I'm actually tethering. Ooh, cool. Ooh, port 80 is listening. Oh, should not be listening. Ooh, let's update that test. Real test-driven development. Yeah, it should be listening. Sorry. Anyway, so now what we're going to do is we're going to quickly configure and install our recipe remotely. Now, I don't know if you know this, but Chef these days does not need a Chef server to run its cookbooks. It's got a push methodology like Ansible. So I can just take that specific cookbook that I have and just push it to the remote machine, and Chef will solve everything else for us, right? So we're going to say Chef run which one? Probably the recipe. Yeah, so many choices. Let's just connect to root at that IP address, and we're just going to say do that. Okay. Yeah, she's like it. How much do you earn? Do you want to come and work for us? Right? Yeah, we need you. We need more people like you. Wow, paying attention. Okay, cool. That's the recipe. So what happens is Chef actually packages up as a thing called a policy file, then tries to remotely connect to that other machine, and depending on the speed, obviously, of this network, it actually installs a remote Chef client remotely, does the configuration and the installation of that stuff. And I don't know if we're going to run out of time because obviously we have some limited time. So while that happens, so it's verifying the Chef client installation remotely, downloading the Chef client to the local cache on my machine, then pushing it. But you don't really have to do anything. So usually when you manage a lot of fleet of machines, you would automatically usually install something like this automatically without it needing to re-download things like this. But it's a fairly elegant way of just getting your tests or your code remotely and quickly provisioning a few things, and you don't actually have to do a lot of things. So while this thing is running, I think it's a good time to take some questions or perhaps go on with my slides. It's your time to ask questions. Okay, quickly want to say something about this guy. Inspect Iggy is a way of, have you guys ever used a tool called Terraform? Now, Terraform, if she was a lady, right, I would take her out for dinner, play gentle music to her, won't play Enya, would play like Barry White, you know, I would really like my darling, I would really get down. Terraform's amazing. It gives you the ability to have a unified language creating cloud infrastructure. And that's not just the major clouds, the minor clouds as well, like DigitalOcean and things like that. What Inspect Iggy does is, when Terraform runs against cloud infrastructures, it generates a state file. And that state file tells you the state of what you've just done, right? So what Inspect Iggy does is it reads that state file and generates inspect tests based on that. Which means, if you've provisioned security groups, by no means you actually know if it's still the same way than what you've provisioned. So what Inspect Iggy does is give you the ability to run that test from any machine to see if that verification group is there. Is that port open? Should it not be open? And things like that. Very cool tool, I can show you more. So other friends that we use is Bitbucket for source control. We use Bamboo to do our builds. All our Docker stuff is like, as soon as we push our code to Bitbucket, Bamboo fires off and triggers all the Bamboo containers and builds our stuff. So the thing that I've built on my local machine actually is a Bamboo job, and then obviously I get a Slack notification that everything's done. Docker, we've talking about that. We use Chef in this demo, we've used Kitchen CI, and then obviously Inspect, and then obviously Vagrant and Terraform. So these are the tools that we've used. Now, it's very important that we check on our thing here on the side. Unexpected error, that means it's working. So let's just quickly see. Local verify, oh, there's a typo somewhere. I don't know where. I'm not going to debug the... Dude, this is not YAML. It's not YAML. And that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So spacing doesn't matter. I'm just quickly going to have a look to see what I did wrong. Service start, it might actually just be something ridiculous that I did on my side. Unable to do the E method, maybe I just did something wrong. I can't see. Anyway, right, so obviously if it would have worked, the services would have started. I'm not too sure if they actually did create things, but we are really running out of time. So if I had more time, I think I would have fixed it for you. And yeah. So this year at ChefConf, I'm talking, go to America. Be in a container with all the other immigrants. So this is what IT is supposed to do, right? This is why we do technology. You want to feel like that kid. He's screaming because you can't see his pants. He's already made a lot of fun in his pants. If I'm on a luck dragon like that, I would have died, right? So, but obviously Falcor, you need to find your Falcor, your luck dragon that enables your dreams to become a reality in the enterprise, right? So we all have these little bits of tools that we can use to make things happen. So is there any questions? I can share my opinion. That's free. So yeah, anything else? You guys just bored, you're tired, I know, hydrated. Ask me a question, what do you think about? And then I will finish the sentence for you. So let's share ideas. Oh! Yeah! Wow, a brave question. This is a safe space. So yeah, YAML, right? So when kids learn YAML, they think they're like, ooh, I'm a cloud expert. I know YAML, I can do the cloud. I don't see YAML as a configuration or programming language. I see it as a way of transmitting data, because it's a markup language, right? So it's an easy way to translate YAML to JSON, and that's the reason why YAML got formed. So I don't necessarily see it as a way of configuring things, which obviously is another wormhole. But yeah, YAML is not, another thing is that, remember, when we looked at technology with our engineers, is as soon as you use a technology like YAML, as soon as there's a space, it breaks. How dumb is that? It's dumb. It's dumb. Because you use spaces, I use tabs. Come on. It shouldn't break. This is 2019. It should be smart enough to figure out what it's supposed to do. And that's why YAML is a bad language to give to engineers who have no programming background, who just want to get their stuff done. They want the lowest barrier of entry. So it doesn't matter if you use single quotes or double quotes or a colon or something. It shouldn't ruin your dreams. Okay? Ruining dreams. That's okay, yes. More questions. Yes, at the back?
Hi, and thank you for the talk.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that you use Vagrant. What do you guys use Vagrant for?
So we use Vagrant for testing images, but the problem with doing Vagrant on virtualized instances on AWS is that it's nested virtualization. So performance-wise, Vagrant just, it just takes a lot of capacity because you're spinning up a binary blob VMDK type file, which is usually between a gig and 1.5 gig for an OS image, bringing that up, putting the crap in the crap, and then trying to maintain it. Now, as soon as you want to para-virtualize something like that, so you want 8 instances of that thing running at the same time, and that thing reserves the memory like at a gig at a time. You need a hell of a machine. So the Vagrant in our test process isn't really working that well. That's why we use the kitchen Docker driver, and that just makes our lives a little bit easier and a bit more manageable.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. For testing Docker images, I'm guessing. Have you tried Seaworthy?
No. What is that? Tell us about it. Stand up and tell us about Seaworthy.
No, I don't want to talk.
I said share ideas. Doesn't the slide say that? Oh, it's not an idea. Is it in your head? We have a special table for that.
So Seaworthy tests just allow you to test your Docker images.
Oh,
and stuff,
nice. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Cool. Cool. That's good to hear. Any other questions? Yes?
What do you have against Microsoft?
I love Microsoft, right? So back in the day when I started with Linux in 1999, 2nd of October, the day after my 18th birthday, I wanted to change my life. That's the day I started using Linux. My friends used to say to me, no, that's the truth, that's the truth. Look at this tattoo. No, so back in the day, people used to say like, yeah, people who use FreeBSD love Unix, and people who use Linux hate Microsoft. Look at what Microsoft has done in the last 5 years. They bought GitHub, they've open sourced the crap load of things, they threw away IE. There's miracles happen, right? Miracles happen. And a company like that is like, remember when Apple said they're going to remove the headphone jack? They said, we're brave, right? We're brave. They're brave. Shooting IE like the thing it is, right? It's like Microsoft has done a lot more for open source, I would argue, in the last 5 years than most other vendors. I know what IBM has done. They've done an acquisition, right? But you're not seeing code going back. VS Code's an amazing thing. Like, I don't know how many people use it, but some of the extensions that I use have like over 1 million or 2 million people using a code editor that they've given away. And the thing runs on Linux natively. That's amazing. I have no problem with Microsoft today. Now I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, right? So the thing is that, and not just because they're a partner, they don't even pay my salary, but the thing is that you can never trust a single organization. That's the truth. Everybody is like, yeah, remember when we go IBM, right? And they buy into an IBM ecosystem, or they buy into a specific ecosystem. That vendor turns around and usually bites you in the ass, right? But if something's open source and it's on GitHub, hey buddy, I don't like the way that you're looking at me. I'm going to fork your code. Fork the project, bam, tag, new maintainers. That's what you can do. That's the power of open source. You don't like this, you fork the project. And that takes a lot of balls or ovaries. I have to be inclusive here. Ovaries, man. My wife said to me, you try and have a baby in you, right? We have twins, right? So I never touch that subject, right? It takes a lot of guts to say like, listen, we put our stuff out on GitHub, use it, don't use it. But it takes a lot of guts to be criticized and putting your stuff online. I think so. That takes a lot of bravery. Any other questions? Because we're done. I think we're out of time. Yes?
Just a question. What's your experience with Terraform Beam? Because I've been using Terraform for about 2 years now.
Yes?
And about 90% of the time, love the thing.
Yes.
The 10% of the other 10% I want to kill it.
Yeah?
It starts stuffing up and like that state file, it's not
Yeah.
as 100% accurate
Yeah. So I've heard things as soon as people start editing state files in Vim, buddy, just buy 2 shots of tequila, 2 sleeping pills, and say goodnight, right?
Have you looked at like Terraform Enterprise? I mean, I don't know.
Yes, I have. Buy it. If you can afford it, you can buy it. But it's like, anybody gander at a price, $200,000 for 50 users or something. It's very expensive. So we've seen adoption in enterprises and banks using Terraform Enterprise. Nobody else can afford it, right? So that makes stuff better, right? But obviously putting that state file in something like Git, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's like a version control system with logs and diffs and stuff. That makes lives a bit easier, because sometimes we had this issue once with a Docker demo that we did, is like, you need, no one person can not work on that thing because the state travels in the file system. So yeah, put it in version control. That could be perhaps be the best.